All right, some really cool things that Texas Tech did substitution-wise in their super regional win against UCLA. So I thought, what better way to describe this than using the Flex DP app, because they did a lot of really interesting Flex DP changes by, getting Canady into the circle, taking her out of the game, but not using a sub, putting her at first base, putting Terry back in the circle. So again, just some really cool things that they did, and saw a lot of people wondering how they did that. So we'll use the app, the Flex DP app you can find on the App Store, to go through all that, since it follows the rules correctly. So first thing we'll do, just load previous lineups. I've got the Texas Tech lineup saved here for the video, and we'll continue. So this is Texas Tech's starting lineup. Now, I don't know exactly how it was submitted up to the, to the press box, but it looked like, just looking back online, that they started Terry, their relief pitcher, in left field because she can play outfield. So again, keep in mind, she's the relief pitcher for today's game. Burns is the DP. She's a catcher usually, but can hit, so they got her at DP. And then obviously we got Canady in the circle. And then here's the bench players that were used during the game. So we're going to go ahead and submit this now. And so what this does is now everything has to follow the correct substitution logic. Before this, we can move players around willy-nilly however we want. But now that we proceed, now the app is official, and we have to follow exactly how the lineup needs to go. So again, starting the game in left field and in relief pitching is going to be Terry. Burns at DP, those are kind of the main ones to remember, and then obviously Canady starting in the circle. And so we're just going to run through exactly what happens in the game. So in the first inning, Texas Tech gets a run, goes up 1-0. Bottom of the first, UCLA gets 2, so it's 2-1 UCLA. Second inning, Texas Tech gets 2 more, so a lot of scoring going on so far. Canady holds them in the bottom of the second. So now it's 3-2 Texas Tech, still heading into the third. And in the third inning is where we see our first interesting move. So UCLA leads it off with a double, and now Texas Tech wants Terry to go warm up. So what we're going to do here is go to position changes, and we're going to go to DP takes field. Okay, so this kind of confuses people sometimes, but we can enter the DP into the field. So the DP, remember Burns, is going to go to left field, and that doesn't flip-flop him. That doesn't put Terry at the DP. It makes Terry the OP, the offensive player. Because if you could just move your DP wherever you want, remember, every softball coach should know the flex can come in for the DP, so that wouldn't really work. You could just put anybody you want as the DP and then hit the flex for them every time, right? So the DP has to stay the spot that it started in, and that's the 7 hole for this game, and that's Burns in this case. So Burns can still move around and go into the field, but she has to stay labeled as the DP. So right now, Burns is playing left field because we put Terry, basically switched him, not technically because you can't move your DP, but Terry now is the OP, meaning batting only. And Burns is now in left field, okay? Now, Burns is not an outfielder, so the other change Texas Tech makes is they take Burns out and they bring in Halliman off the bench to play left field. So we'll go ahead and make that substitution here as well. We'll go to bench sub, and we're going to choose Halliman off the bench in for Burns. Okay, so now we got Terry at OP. We got Halliman off the bench playing left field in the DP spot. And Burns is now on the bench, but can re-enter in the 7 spot. So we got a little re-entry button next to Burns. Okay, so that's how our lineup is so far. So Terry's warming up, getting ready to come in. UCLA ties it up at 3 in the third. And so now Terry can come into relief. So how we do that is if you bring your OP now into a position, then, and your DP is also in the field, then we got to drop we have to drop the flex because now all 9 spots are going to be taken. So your flex always has to be playing the field. So your flex would have to come out of the game. So Canady now is going to be dropped out of the flex spot, and Terry is going to go into pitch. So we go to 9. We go down to 9. Halliman stays in left field. That's still the DP spot, but she's playing left field. Terry goes into pitch. We got no OP anymore. So on the app, we can just go to position changes. We can go to change position, and we can just switch Terry, the OP, with Canady, the pitcher, since Canady is in the flex, and that's going to drop the flex. So now we have no more flex. We're down to 9. Canady still can re-enter because starters can re-enter. So keep that in mind. Canady can come back in and pitch. And now we got Terry pitching, and we're down to 9. So Terry does a great job, gets him out of it. And now we head to the 4th. Texas Tech gets another run, takes a 4-3 lead. Terry shuts down UCLA in the bottom of the 4th. Top of the 5th, still 4-3 Texas Tech. And this is an interesting thing that happens. The 7 spot comes back up. And remember, that was Burns, who's a good hitter. So Burns can re-enter. So that 7 spot comes up to bat, and Texas Tech re-enters Burns. So we can just scroll down and go to re-enter next to Burns, can re-enter into the 7 spot. So we're going to do that. Texas Tech pinch hits with Burns. Nothing doing that inning. Back on defense now. And Texas Tech now, remember, Burns cannot play outfield, so they're going to need an outfielder in. So instead of just subbing straight in for Burns, and now Burns would be done because Burns came out of the game, came back in. This is a really cool thing Texas Tech did. They're going to bring the flex back in, but it's not going to be Canady. They're going to bring a bench flex player in to the 10 spot. And so that's going to be a left fielder. So what they do is, I think it's Garcia. So we're going to go to flex DP changes, reinstate flex back to 10. And it says now, obviously, we have to choose who that's going to be. So we're going to go Garcia as our new flex. And so Garcia's in the left, and Burns is just back to the DP spot. So we haven't done anything incorrectly yet. Burns is in left field, and we can still now, we can keep Burns, I'm sorry, did I say Burns in left field? Garcia's in left field, and we can keep Burns in the lineup to hit because Burns is a good DP. Halliman now is done, and we got Canady can re-enter into the flex spot still as a pitcher later on if we want. So that gives us a lot of options. So what ends up happening is in the 5th inning, Tech holds UCLA, bottom of the 5th. Terry is pitching well. Top of the 6th, Texas Tech gets a few more runs, up 6-3. Bottom of the 6th, nothing doing for UCLA. So we head to the top of the 7th. The 7th inning now is where a lot of cool things happen. So first of all, remember Texas Tech up now 6-3, top of the 7th. Burns gets on base. And so now a cool thing that you can do, every softball coach should know, is flex can run for the DP. So Garcia, fast outfielder, Burns gets on base. We can go up to the substitution bar, and we can go flex enters for the DP. So Garcia goes in for Burns. Garcia now is running. Burns now is out of the game, though, okay? Because Burns, came out, came back in, came back out. So that's the risk, obviously the coach is willing to take in the 7th inning. Up 3, not thinking they'll need Burns again. Unfortunately, it ends up, unfortunately for Texas Tech, ends up going to 9 innings. But this was the thinking at the time. So again, we're at 9. We got no more flex. Garcia, it was the flex, is in for the DP. And we're in the 7th inning. So now we go bottom of the 7th. Okay, Texas Tech doesn't get a run. They're still up 6-3. We go bottom of the 7th. And UCLA hits a home run, okay? So now we want to bring Canady back in. Texas Tech wants to bring Canady back in, but still have the option to go with Terry again if needed. So Canady can only come into the flex spot because she started there. So Canady can only come into the flex. So remember, Garcia is technically in the flex spot now. The flex is just in for the DP. So we have to go Garcia back into the flex and bring in a new DP. Okay, so what Texas Tech does, and we're going to go to the substitution bar, we're going to go to reinstate a DP back to 10, because Garcia technically goes to the flex. Spearman is a left fielder, so Texas Tech puts Spearman into the DP spot. Garcia goes back to the flex, and now we can go Canady re-enter into the flex spot. So Canady comes into pitch. Right now it's got her playing left field, so we just need to switch that. And Spearman, the DP, is going to be the new left fielder. So Spearman's going to go DP / left field. Canady's going to go to pitcher. So we just need to go to position changes. And we're going to go Canady to pitcher. And now Spearman, the DP, we want playing left field, so we can go DP takes field. And we're going to go to left field. So now that puts Terry as the OP, Spearman in left field as the DP, and Canady pitching. So that's really kind of how we end the game. It's not how we end the game, but it's basically we don't need to make any more bench substitutions. Okay, so we have this lineup. Terry is hitting only right now. Canady is pitching. And so what Texas Tech does, in the 7th, in the 8th, and the 9th, this is where everyone's wondering how they do it. They keep switching back and forth between Terry and Canady. So to do that, they cannot just go Terry into pitch, because Terry, remember, is the OP. If you do that, that would drop Canady. So because Canady has to stay somewhere in the field. So what they do is they put Canady over to first base when they want to make this switch. And then they put Terry into pitch. So Canady then is still playing the field, can stay in the flex position. So Liss is usually the first baseman. So all we need to do is go to change position. And we go Liss change with Canady. So now it's got Liss as pitcher. So now we need to switch Liss to the OP. Liss and Terry are going to switch. And so we go to change position again. Liss from pitcher is going to go to OP, and Terry is going to go to pitcher. So here we go. We're sound. We got Terry pitching, Liss is the OP, and Canady at first base. So again, if we wanted to switch that back, Liss OP, Terry pitcher, Canady at first, we can switch that back. So we can just change positions as much as we want. So I know Texas Tech did it at least 1 or 2 more times. So here we go, change position. We're going to say, hey, I don't want Liss at the OP anymore. I want Terry going to the OP. I want Canady going to pitch. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of how Texas Tech was able to do this. And if you're a coach or an umpire, this is a pretty complex situation. And if you have this down, then you're probably going to be pretty good in all the other spots. But feel free to download the app, try different things. Be prepared for your games, and let me know if you have any questions.